The palace of Xylar Prime gleamed under the twin suns, its towers rising like silver spears into the sky. Vast gardens surrounded it, filled with glowing plants that shifted colors with the wind. For centuries, the alien race of Xylar had ruled their planet with a sense of pride and strength unmatched in the galaxy. Now, for the first time, humans had arrived ambassadors from a distant world called Earth, seeking trade, friendship, and knowledge. Marcus Hayes adjusted his tie as he walked through the marble halls. Humans had come prepared for many things: political negotiations, strange customs, alien technology, but nothing had prepared him for the grandeur of this palace. Every surface gleamed, every corridor smelled of alien flowers, and every step echoed like a drum. He had come with a team of diplomats, scientists, and linguists, but the weight of the moment rested heavily on him. "This is incredible," whispered his colleague, Dr. Amina Riaz, as she adjusted her translator device. "But remember, one wrong word, one wrong gesture, and they could see us as enemies." Marcus nodded. "I know, but we have to show them. Humans are clever and honest. That's our best chance." The team entered the main hall, where a large crowd of Xylar nobles had already gathered. At the far end, seated on a throne carved from crystalline stone, was the alien queen, tall and regal, her skin shimmering like polished bronze. Her eyes glowed faintly blue, and her posture radiated authority. Beside her stood her daughter, Lyra, equally striking but less severe, with a nervous energy that contrasted sharply with her mother's calm power. The banquet began in a respectful silence. Servants moved silently, bringing dishes that seemed alive, glowing slightly, and shifting flavors with every bite. Humans watched, fascinated, but careful. The queen spoke little at first, her attention focused on the proceedings. Then, suddenly, Lyra spoke. Her voice trembled. "Mother, I need to tell you something important." The hall fell silent. Even the servants froze mid-step. All eyes turned to the princess. The queen's eyes narrowed. "Speak, Lyra. Do not waste my time." Lyra swallowed and said, I am expecting a child." The words hung in the air like a shockwave. A murmur ran through the crowd. The queen's eyes widened, then narrowed even more. A low, growling noise came from her throat, a sound that seemed to make the very walls vibrate. "Who got my daughter pregnant?" she shouted, her voice echoing through the hall. The humans froze. The Xylar nobles stared, wide-eyed. Even the translators on the human team could barely keep up with the intensity of the queen's words. Marcus felt the room press down on him. He glanced at his team. They looked back, equally frozen. But something inside him stirred a mix of courage, duty, and a strange impulse to do what was right. He stepped forward. All attention shifted to him. A human, small and fragile compared to these towering aliens, now stood in front of the queen, hands raised in a gesture of respect. Marcus's voice was calm, but firm. "I did, Your Majesty," he said. A ripple of shock ran through the hall. Humans had not expected him to speak. The Xylar gasped audibly. Whispers filled the room. Some nobles looked as if they might attack. Others seemed stunned into silence. The queen's eyes narrowed to thin slits. What did you say?" she demanded, her voice a low, dangerous rumble. Marcus took a deep breath. "I am taking responsibility, Queen Xylar. I will explain everything, and I will cooperate fully with your customs." Lyra looked at him, confusion and fear mixing on her face. "Marcus, you don't even know." "I know enough to help," he said gently. The queen rose from her throne, towering above everyone in the hall. Her presence alone made humans feel as if the air had thickened. She stared at Marcus, her gaze sharp, calculating, and full of suspicion. "You are human," she said finally. "You step forward and claim responsibility for my daughter's condition. Do you know what this means? I do, Your Majesty, Marcus replied, and I am ready to face it. The Queen's voice echoed like thunder. Very well. You will undergo the trial of proof. If you pass, you may remain here. If you fail, you will leave. Never to return. Marcus nodded. He had expected danger, but he hadn't expected outright combat. The trial of proof, he knew, would test his intelligence, his understanding of alien culture, and perhaps even his courage. The first stage was the mental labyrinth. Marcus was led to a chamber filled with shifting walls, glowing symbols, and puzzles that seemed impossible. His translator device decoded some of the markings, but most of the test required intuition and reasoning beyond language. Hours passed. Marcus moved carefully, testing every surface, observing patterns, and thinking outside the box. The labyrinth shifted constantly, as if alive, and he had to adapt. His human creativity, resourcefulness, and persistence allowed him to solve puzzles that the aliens might have missed. Meanwhile, back in the palace, the Queen watched through a series of holographic displays, her lips pressed into a thin line. She did not expect humans to be clever, but she could not deny Marcus's ability to navigate challenges she had set. The second trial was the cultural test. Marcus was placed in a room filled with alien nobles, each speaking in elaborate customs and rituals. He was tasked with performing a series of gestures to show respect, understanding, and empathy. He remembered his training. He had studied alien etiquette, their values, their history. He bowed, mirrored subtle gestures, and addressed each noble appropriately. Some of them nodded in approval. Others whispered among themselves, but none could fault his performance. Lyra, watching from the gallery above, began to see Marcus differently. He was not just a human trying to survive. He was someone who respected her world, someone capable of understanding, even if he came from another planet. The final stage was the physical test, though it was unlike anything Marcus had imagined. He was not asked to fight or display raw strength. Instead, he had to navigate a room filled with obstacles, dangerous machinery, and shifting terrain. Brute force would not work. Marcus needed intelligence, quick thinking, and precision. He observed the patterns of moving platforms, avoided dangerous energy beams, and used simple tools provided in the room to create bridges, levers, and paths. Step by step, he progressed. Step by step, he proved that humans could survive, adapt, and think in ways even the advanced Xylar might overlook. By the time Marcus emerged, the sun outside had begun to set. The palace gardens glowed softly, casting long shadows across the hall. The Queen waited, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. "You survived," she said at last. "But surviving is not enough. You have shown cleverness, and perhaps even courage. Yet, why do you claim responsibility for my daughter?" Marcus took a steady breath. "Because, Your Majesty, it is the right thing to do. I cannot undo what has happened, but I can face it honorably. I want to ensure your daughter is safe and respected. I want to show that humans are capable of responsibility, courage, and moral strength." For a long moment, the hall was silent. Then, the Queen spoke, softer this time, though her voice still carried authority. "Humans, I have underestimated your species." The humans in the room exchanged surprised glances. Marcus bowed. Lyra looked relieved, though still uncertain. The Queen's approval was not complete, but it was a start. "Very well," the Queen said. "You will remain under my supervision. But mark this, human. One misstep, and your world will see the full fury of Xylar." Marcus nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty." The hall buzzed with whispers. Humans had survived their first day on Xylar Prime, not with weapons, not with cunning traps, but with the very qualities that defined them: intelligence, courage, and integrity. Lyra approached Marcus quietly. "I didn't expect you to step forward," she admitted. I thought it would make things worse." Marcus smiled. "Sometimes, doing the right thing looks like madness, but it can also open doors that fear cannot." She smiled faintly. "I hope your doors lead somewhere safe." He nodded, feeling the weight of the trials ahead. This was only the beginning. The Queen's trust was fragile, and the politics of Zelar Prime were far more complex than any human mind had imagined. But Marcus also knew one thing. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and they had always found a way. And now, in the heart of an alien empire, they would do it again. Marcus had survived the trial of proof, but his challenges were far from over. Remaining under the watchful eyes of Queen Xylar was not a reward, it was a test in itself. Every move he made, every word he spoke, was scrutinized. Yet he did not waver. Humans thrived on challenge, and Marcus had a mind sharpened by curiosity, courage, and the will to do what was right. The palace halls were quieter now, but the tension hung thick like mist. Marcus was escorted to a suite where he would stay, a room filled with alien art, strange lights, and devices that hummed softly. Lyra had chosen to stay nearby as well, under the guise of supervision. She was curious about Marcus, why a human would step forward in the first place, and what he truly wanted. "You seem calm," she said, as she entered the room, her glowing eyes studying him carefully. "I've faced worse odds," Marcus replied, smiling faintly. "This palace is impressive, but it cannot frighten me. What frightens me is injustice or harm to people who cannot protect themselves." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "And you think humans can protect anyone in a place like this?" Marcus looked out the window, where twin suns bathed the palace in orange light. "Humans survive by thinking, by working together, and by caring. We might be smaller, weaker in some ways, but we have a strength that is hard to measure." Lyra paused. For the first time, she considered that perhaps humans were not the simple creatures her mother had warned her about. Perhaps they were more than she imagined. The rival faction. The next morning, Marcus was called to a council room. The room was massive, with high ceilings and walls of transparent metal that overlooked the city below. Alien officials sat around a long table, their eyes sharp and unreadable. "You are here because the matter of Princess Lyra's condition is more complex than you realize," said one of the officials, an older alien with silver markings on his face. "There are those among our people who would exploit this situation for power. You are not merely being tested for courage, you are being tested for insight." Marcus nodded. "I understand. I want to help, in any way I can." The official handed him a data tablet. The screen showed logs of communication, subtle financial transactions, and even messages intercepted from within the royal court. At first glance, it appeared chaotic, but Marcus's sharp mind quickly began to detect patterns. These messages, their attempts to frame someone, Marcus said slowly, pointing at irregularities in the communication. "Someone wants your people to believe there is a scandal, so that power can be taken from the Queen's family." The officials gasped. This was exactly what the Queen feared, but they had not expected a human to see it. Marcus's ability to notice what aliens overlooked gave him a small but significant advantage. "Explain," said one official. Marcus leaned forward. "Look here, these transactions happened just before major court announcements. These messages were created to mislead observers and force the Queen into a difficult political decision. Whoever did this wants to create distrust between you and your allies. And the humans, we notice details that are sometimes invisible to your kind." The council murmured in astonishment. They had always assumed humans were clever in some basic ways, but this was beyond expectation. Learning the alien culture. While investigating, Marcus spent more time with Lyra, learning the intricacies of Xylar customs. From family hierarchy to ceremonial behavior, from communication patterns to social rules, Marcus immersed himself fully. He observed, questioned, and adapted. Lyra guided him gently, correcting small mistakes and explaining subtle gestures. "You humans are stubborn," Lyra said with a small smile one evening. "But I think you might be braver than anyone I know." Marcus chuckled. "Bravery is just doing what is right when it's hard. Anyone can do it. Humans just happen to do it a lot." Lyra laughed softly, the sound like wind through glowing leaves. She began to see that Marcus's presence was not just about taking responsibility. He was proving that humans could understand, adapt, and even lead in a world far different from their own. Uncovering the conspiracy. Marcus's investigation led him to the heart of the palace archives. Hidden within encrypted messages and coded communications, he discovered evidence of a faction within the royal court, a group of nobles who resented the queen's rule and sought to weaken her by creating scandal around Lyra. He worked carefully to map out their plan. They had tried to manipulate events to make it appear that Lyra had been dishonored by a foreigner, a human. That human, they hoped, would be blamed, expelled, or even executed, destroying any trust between humans and the Xylar. Marcus presented his findings to Lyra in secret. "Your people have enemies who think they can control your future through deception," he said. "But we can stop them. Together." Lyra's eyes widened. "You want to help me?" "I want to protect what is right," Marcus said. "I also want to show your mother that humans are trustworthy. If we solve this, we can prevent harm to your family and strengthen your alliances." Lyra nodded, a mixture of relief and hope in her expression. "Then we must act carefully. One wrong move, and they'll know we've uncovered their plan." The bond between two worlds. Over the next few days, Marcus and Lyra worked quietly. They gathered evidence, observed suspicious nobles, and even subtly influenced palace events to prevent the rival faction from advancing their plan. Each small victory strengthened trust between the human and the alien princess. Lyra began to admire Marcus not just for his cleverness, but for his humanity. His ability to think of others, to act with courage even when he faced danger, and to remain calm under pressure. Marcus, in turn, respected Lyra for her intelligence, bravery, and sense of responsibility. She was not just an alien princess. She was a leader in her own right, capable of extraordinary judgment. Even the queen, observing quietly from afar, began to notice changes. She had expected Marcus to fail, to be exposed as weak or foolish. Instead, he was solving problems that had baffled even the wisest Xylar minds. The human's resourcefulness, empathy, and courage were undeniable. The test of loyalty. The rival faction, realizing someone was on to them, escalated their efforts. They set a trap to catch Marcus investigating the palace archives. Late one night, Marcus entered a secluded hallway to retrieve critical data. The corridor lit up with security beams and energy barriers traps designed to capture intruders instantly. Marcus paused, analyzing the pattern. Then he smiled faintly. "Predictable," he muttered. Using a combination of quick thinking and improvisation, he navigated the traps with agility and intelligence, avoiding detection entirely. Lyra, watching secretly from above, gasped in admiration. "He's incredible," she whispered. "Humans are amazing in ways I didn't understand." Marcus retrieved the data, revealing the final piece of the puzzle. The rival faction had indeed planned to frame him, but their plan was now exposed. He had enough evidence to confront the queen and prove the truth. Climactic confrontation approaches. The story of Part 2 ends with Marcus preparing to meet the Queen again. He is armed not with weapons, but with truth, courage, and the evidence needed to protect Lyra and her family. The rival faction's scheme is close to being revealed, and the palace holds its collective breath. Marcus reflects quietly. Humans have always faced the unknown with determination and ingenuity. Here, on a distant alien world, these same qualities are about to shine. He is ready to show the Xylar that humans are not just clever, but honorable, brave, and capable of extraordinary insight. Lyra approaches, placing a hand on his arm. "Are you ready?" she asks. Marcus nods. "We face them together. And when the truth comes out, it will show that humans can stand with anyone, even in a world far beyond our own." Outside the palace, the twin suns set, casting long shadows over Xylar Prime. Inside, humans and aliens alike are on the verge of a revelation, one that will change their understanding of each other forever. The palace of Xylar Prime was tense with anticipation. The court had gathered again, summoned by Queen Xylar herself. Marcus Hayes, the human who had stepped forward and taken responsibility for Princess Lyra's condition, stood in the grand hall with calm determination. He carried the evidence he had collected, proof of the rival faction's conspiracy to frame him and create political chaos. The Queen sat on her crystalline throne, her towering form radiating authority. Her eyes glowed with a mixture of curiosity, suspicion, and barely restrained anger. Around her, the court waited silently, anxious to see how the situation would unfold. Lyra stood beside Marcus, her presence quiet but resolute. She had trusted him with her secrets and had seen his courage and cleverness firsthand. Now, she was prepared to see justice done. The revelation. Marcus stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he began, voice steady and respectful, "I have uncovered the truth. I am not the cause of your daughter's condition. There is a group within the court, your rivals, who have attempted to manipulate events to weaken your rule." A murmur ran through the court. Many Xylar had suspected intrigue, but none had concrete proof. Marcus placed the data tablet on a pedestal. Holograms of communication logs, patterns of movement, and subtle transactions appeared in the air. "These records show repeated attempts to create a false narrative," he said. "Messages were intercepted, events were staged, and the blame was almost directed at me. Their plan was to cast doubt on Princess Lyra and provoke conflict between your empire and humans." The Queen's glowing eyes scanned the holograms. Step by step, she realized Marcus was right. The rival faction had indeed attempted to manipulate her, using fear and deceit to gain power. Her mouth tightened as she considered the audacity of the conspirators. Marcus continued, "I have brought this to light not to accuse blindly, but to protect your family and your empire. Humans are capable of observation, reasoning, and insight. We notice what others overlook. That is how I discovered the truth." The hall fell silent. Even the rival faction looked uneasy. The Queen's gaze shifted toward them, her anger barely contained. The Queen's judgment. "You have proven yourself clever," Queen Xylar said finally, her voice echoing through the hall. "You have uncovered the treachery that many of my own kind missed, and you did so without deceit, without violence, and without selfish ambition." Marcus bowed deeply. "I did what I could, Your Majesty. Humans value truth, courage, and loyalty. Those are the principles I stand by." For the first time, the Queen's expression softened, though her authority remained undeniable. She rose from her throne, moving toward Marcus. The court held its breath. "You humans, I have underestimated your species," she said. "I believed you clever, but I did not believe you capable of honor, insight, and courage in ways my own people sometimes lack. You have earned my respect." Marcus felt a mixture of relief and pride. not for himself, but for humanity. This moment, on a distant alien world, facing a powerful empire, was proof that humans could stand strong even in the most unfamiliar and intimidating circumstances. Exposing the rival faction. The Queen turned her attention to the nobles who had orchestrated the plot. You sought to weaken my rule through deception and manipulation. You endangered my family and the stability of Xylar Prime. Do you have any defense? One of the conspirators, an older alien with silver markings, attempted to speak. Your Majesty, it was not meant to. Silence, the Queen thundered. Your intentions have been revealed. Justice will be done. The rival faction was swiftly removed from positions of power, their schemes dismantled. Marcus had not only survived the palace trials, but had also helped preserve the integrity of the royal family and the empire itself. The humans had shown strength, courage, and intelligence that far exceeded what the aliens had expected. Building trust. After the confrontation, the Queen addressed Marcus directly. You have proven humans are worthy allies. I was wrong to doubt your kind. Your actions demonstrate that courage, integrity, and reasoning are not limited to Xylar or any alien race. These are qualities of your species as well. Marcus bowed again. Thank you, Your Majesty. Humans have always believed that we can overcome great challenges with wisdom, courage, and cooperation. It seems we have proven that even here, among your people. The Queen's gaze softened, and for a moment, she looked less like a ruler and more like a parent concerned for her child. I see now that the future of my daughter and her child may be safeguarded by not only her own wisdom, but by the insight of humans such as you. Lyra stepped forward, a mixture of relief and pride on her face. Marcus, thank you. You have not only helped me, but you have shown my mother that humans are capable of honor and cleverness. Marcus smiled faintly. I only did what any human would do in my place. Protecting others, seeking the truth, and standing for what is right. That is who we are. The human way. Over the next few days, trust between humans and Xylar grew stronger. Marcus worked with the Queen and Lyra to strengthen palace security, prevent further conspiracies, and create a plan for alliances that would benefit both humans and Xylar. Humans and aliens began sharing knowledge. Scientists, engineers, and diplomats exchanged ideas freely, amazed at what each could learn from the other. The Queen, once skeptical of humans, now watched them with admiration. Their persistence, creativity, and moral strength were qualities she had not expected, but qualities she now respected deeply. Marcus became a bridge between worlds. He navigated customs, built trust, and earned respect not through intimidation, but through intelligence, courage, and integrity. The human's reputation soared, and for the first time, Xylar Prime viewed humanity as equals, capable of heroism and honor on a galactic scale. The princess and the human. One quiet evening, Lyra approached Marcus in the palace gardens. The twin suns were setting, casting long shadows over glowing alien plants. You have changed how my mother sees humans, she said softly. And you've changed how I see the galaxy. Your courage, it inspires me. Marcus nodded. We humans often face the unknown with determination. That same determination can be used to build trust, to solve problems, and to protect those who cannot protect themselves. I am glad I could show that here. Lyra smiled. I never imagined a human could do all that. Marcus shrugged lightly. We are capable of more than anyone expects. Sometimes it only takes a choice to act with courage and honesty to prove it. A new alliance. The Queen addressed the court and the human delegation publicly. Let this day be remembered as the day humans proved their worth to Xylar Prime. Not through conquest, not through deceit, but through courage, intelligence, and honor. Humans are allies, not strangers. They have earned our trust. Applause echoed through the hall, both from humans and Xylar alike. Marcus stood with his team, proud not only of their achievements, but of what humanity represented: resilience, morality, and cleverness in the face of adversity. The rival faction, once a threat, had been removed from influence, and the palace returned to order. Princess Lyra and Marcus continued their work together, forging stronger bonds between humans and Xylar. The HFY moment. Marcus reflected on the events that had unfolded. Humans had entered an alien world, fully aware of the risks. Yet they had succeeded without weapons, without trickery, and without aggression. Their strengths, intelligence, moral courage, and ingenuity had earned them respect and trust in a society far older and stronger than their own. Queen Xylar, watching from her throne, realized that humans were more than she had ever imagined. Small, fragile, yet bold and clever beyond expectation, they were a species to be reckoned with, a species worthy of alliance, friendship, and admiration. Marcus smiled as he looked out over the palace gardens, the twin suns setting in the sky. Humanity had proven itself not with power, but with heart. They had faced fear, challenge, and misunderstanding, and they had triumphed. And now, on Xylar Prime, humans were not just visitors, they were respected allies.